Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm super excited to launch my new blog called Ecstatic Living, and I'm going to be sharing with you different tools and techniques and insights about how can we live more fully in our lives. And to kick this off, we're going to start with a beautiful and super interesting subject. It's all about communication and how can you communicate more consciously? How can you invite more love, truth, and authenticity into your relationships? So it's a big subject, there's a lot to talk about, and I would like to give you some insights, like a little bit about the bigger picture of conscious communication, and then also 5 powerful principles of authentic relating, which will help you to discover new layers and maybe new insights about how to communicate more consciously. So for me, on a deeper level, we all crave for more love, and we all crave for being understood and being more connected in our lives, isn't it? So on a deep level, I think we all as human beings have this need to feel connected and connect deeper and more authentically with each other. And yet, as you might have experienced in your life, our relationships can also really challenge us in many ways and kind of show us our own limits. So they are a very beautiful kind of area of our lives where we can grow a lot and learn a lot. And so that's for me how I became interested in these practices of conscious communication. And so for me, something that is very powerful is that when we start to develop conscious practices and spiritual practices, let's say meditation or yoga, we actually start to change on a profound level. So you might have experienced that through your practices. So through the practices, we actually start to become a little bit more aware of our own behavior, maybe of our own patterns and how we are showing up in a certain situation. And instead of just running on autopilot, we start to have a little bit more choice. We start to have a little bit more clarity about how we are showing up. And this is very powerful, especially in our relationships. So I feel through the practices, for example, through meditation, we start to have a little bit more space between something that happens and the moment we react. So we don't just react immediately on autopilot, but we have a little bit of space where we can go in and say, wait a second, I'm going to take a breath. And this tiny moment can make all the difference. So then we actually start to have a choice. How do we respond instead of just reacting? And so we might find a different answer. We might find a different way to react just through this moment of taking a breath, coming back into our center. So this is very powerful, and this is something how we actually change through the practices. And then something else that I've really experienced in my life is that through the practices, what happens also is that we start opening our heart. And so we start feeling more connected with other people. We start to feel more compassionate to experiences of other people. And we can see a bigger perspective. We can see their point of view. We might not even agree, but at least we can relate to someone else's point of view. And we start to become more loving and more caring. And this obviously can really also help us to go deeper in our relationships and actually communicate with more care. We can start to listen better and actually listen with more presence, really being there for someone, which is an immense gift to give to someone. And so I feel actually these 2 things can really help us to communicate in ways that are much richer. And this is what I mean when I speak about conscious communication, that we can actually bring the practices into the way we communicate, into the way we relate with each other. And the beautiful thing is that actually from a spiritual perspective, all relationships are teaching us. So from a spiritual point of view, there are no coincidences. Everyone in your life, every single person you meet is there for a reason, is there to teach you. And so with this understanding, I feel that can really shift your perspective in many ways. Because even if there might be challenges, even if something is going on, this is supposed to teach you something. And at the same time, you are also teaching everyone you meet. And you are sharing your authentic truth and your unique truth with the world. So this is as important. So I feel these two understandings are very powerful. But then, as you might have experienced as well in your life, it's not always so easy to fully speak our truth, to fully express our truth, our feelings, our needs, our boundaries, what do we want, what are our desires in a relationship. These are all subjects, like there's so much to talk about. But basically the invitation, and I think what I would love to invite you in, is just to becoming aware that actually the more we share our truth, the more we share our authentic voice, our authentic truth, the more we can actually become vulnerable. We allow ourselves to show up in a more vulnerable way and in a more real way. And this is actually what creates deeper intimacy. So often we feel by holding back, we can actually protect the relationship and we are not really saying anything, so we don't create any tension. But actually by sharing our truth with love and being authentic to ourselves, honoring the other person, our relationships can actually go deeper and we can feel more connected and we can create more intimacy. So I hope this gives you some new insights, and actually now I would love to share 5 powerful principles with you that I have learned in authentic relating, and I know they are also used in the practice of circling. So these are some very powerful practices. Go check them out if you have a chance, that can really bring up a lot of the kind of unconscious conditioning in the way how we communicate, how we relate to others. There's so much going on in the background that we're often not even aware of. And these practices start to help bringing everything into our conscious awareness. So 5 principles of authentic relating that are kind of helping us to go into this practice. Super powerful. First one, welcome everything. So this principle, welcome everything, is about actually turning towards your experience. So instead of shutting down, turning away, disconnecting, can we actually lean in? Can we lean in and can we be curious? Can we welcome whatever might arise in yourself or someone else? Leaning in with a space of curiosity. Doesn't mean we have to accept everything or tolerate everything, but it means we welcome thoughts, feelings that arise. We don't shut them off. Second principle, assume nothing. Super powerful as well. And here's an amazing quote from George Bernard Shaw, who said, "The biggest challenge with communication is the illusion that it has happened." So that kind of nails it, isn't it? So we kind of think that just when we say and communicate something, the other person will understand it in the same way. But this is actually not so clear at all, as we all have such a different background, such a different life experience, such a different maybe cultural background. Just think about it. Actually, if another person would understand you, it's nearly like a miracle if you think about it from that point of view. So we actually need to be as clear as possible, and important in the practices. So assume nothing is like, of course, actually our whole nervous system is trained to constantly make assumptions, make judgments. That's how we walk through life. But the practice is, can we become aware of these assumptions and see if we can drop them, or see if we can at least just see them clearly and move in a more open way into the exchange, into the relationship. Third principle is reveal your experience. This is a very powerful one as well, which is all about making what's going on the inside, making it explicit. So it starts first with revealing yourself to yourself. So that's already quite a profound conscious practice, as you can imagine. So whatever is going on, whatever we are feeling, whatever we are thinking, revealing ourselves to ourselves as the first step, and then revealing to each other, revealing to someone else what is really going on. So think about, in so many situations, you might be in a bad mood because you haven't slept well and you have all these things going on in your life, and you meet up with a friend. The friend might be thinking, oh, maybe she doesn't like me, or what's going on with her, she's behaving so weird. If I wouldn't explain what's going on, if I wouldn't reveal my experience, there can be so many misunderstandings. But actually, by sharing and saying, listen, I couldn't sleep, I had such a bad night, I'm very tired, I'm sorry, my friend would actually feel much more connected with me, isn't it? Because she would understand maybe there's something going on, and I could use some support. So can you see how this practice actually creates deeper connection? By revealing ourselves, we actually create deeper connection and give the other person an opportunity to engage on a different level. The fourth principle is own your experience. And this is, I feel for me, is like one of the most powerful ones. And this is a very deep spiritual practice, how I feel about it. It's about owning whatever is going on the inside. And it's something we unfortunately aren't taught in school, like all these principles. We aren't really made aware of this. But actually often what happens is that we tend to give our power away. We say someone else is responsible for how we feel. But that's actually not true, because in the end, the only one who has choice and power about how I feel is me. And so by actually taking full responsibility about how I feel, I can also take my power back and say, I feel like this. You said this, and I feel like this. But you didn't make me feel like this. Actually, you can't make me feel like this, because it's my choice how I feel. So owning my experience, taking full responsibility for my experience, super powerful. I'm sure you get it. There's a lot of work to be done. So these are just like dropping in to make you aware about these principles. So we have, I will just repeat, the first one was welcome everything, assume nothing, reveal your experience, own your experience. The last one is honor self, honor other. So this is a very beautiful one. It's about honoring ourselves, which I feel again has to do with really being in our truth, communicating our truth with love, honoring our needs. So honoring that we are teaching everyone, and then at the same time honoring others, honoring that the other person is your teacher as well, whatever might be coming up. And the beauty is also, in order to honor each other, we don't have to always agree. We can honor each other even if there's a difference in opinion. But it's a sense of everything is allowed to be there. So we also don't need to try and fix something or change someone, or do you get what I'm trying to say? There's no fixing. We can be there, we can honor the other person while honoring ourselves. So I find these are so profound, there's so much to talk about, but I hope they kind of start giving you like a bigger picture of all these different subtle layers in when we communicate. And then there are some powerful practices as well, where you can actually bring these principles into conversations and into practices with other people. So I would love to hear from you and what your insights were from this. So the invitation is bring this into your life, bring some of these insights and thoughts into your life. Notice how you can actually go deeper with people, how you can create a deeper connection and more intimacy with the people you care about. And so thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some beautiful insights from this. And if you like the video, please subscribe. I would love to hear from you as well. So please come over to my website, simonashimanovic.com. Have a look at my blog and leave a comment there. I would love to hear about what is challenging for you in communications, what are tools you are using, and maybe something that really inspired you from what I just shared. So I would love to hear from you. Please stay in touch, sign up to my newsletter if you haven't already, and I would love to see you again soon. Sending much love. Thank you so much.